Welcome to Hot Topics, folks. I'm Gabe Decker, and this is Amy Tanner, and today we are talking tabletop exercises, the TTX.
That's right, Gabe. Just like any strategy, you need to have a plan. And today we're covering how to make a TTX plan. So Gabe, what is a TTX? Tell the people.
Tabletop exercise is not an exercise on a tabletop, like jumping jacks or crunches.
Nice,
it's not
Gabe.
a crunch. No, a TTX is a facilitated scenario-based discussion that tests protective measures of a potential scenario in a practice environment.
Exactly. It's a discussion and organization plans to identify gaps in security or their continuity plans.
Gaps, like what kind of gaps are you talking about?
Well, a gap could be validating a plan for some kind of an incident.
An incident like a hurricane or severe flooding, an earthquake, winter weather.
Plus those potential human threats too. Exactly.
So how long does it take to plan a TTX?
Well, planning usually takes about 3 months, and it requires a solid pre-planning meeting.
Well, let's get to the pre-planning steps in a minute, but I know some viewers out there might be wondering about requirements and guidelines. What rules do you have to follow? All TTXs follow the Department of Homeland Security's Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program, or HCEP. However, sharing the results of a TTX with DHS or any other agency is not a requirement.
That's right, Gabe. You don't have to share the results of a TTX with DHS.
No, you don't. TTXs are scenario-based and informal. The idea is to create an environment that develops discussion of the scenario with a focus on roles and identifying those gaps and problems.
And a TTX is not a simulation. It's a facilitated scenario-based discussion that tests protective measures of a potential scenario in a practice environment. The discussion focuses on the response participants could expect to take in a real situation.
So Tanner, there's a lot of TTX case studies out there. What?
Why do you always do that?
That's my thing. Just leave me alone. Okay, so I've heard about a case study where a large trucking supply chain management company discovered some gaps by running a TTX, and they found ways to improve their plans and procedures through their after-action report.
I've actually been told similar stories. Yeah. One company did a TTX where they learned they didn't have an adequate emergency flood operations plan in place, and because of the TTX, they updated their policies before a flood actually occurred.
And so they were better prepared for the real thing then, right?
Oh, much, much better prepared. A TTX is a good environment for problem solving, identifying gaps, and testing your plans and procedures.
At least that's what our producers are telling us. Okay, so basically a TTX can really improve proficiency in executing your training plans. Let's move on.
All right, it's time for the hot list, Decker, and starting from the top, you have to review your documents. Mainly the exercise planner instructions, the facilitator handbook, situation manual, and the exercise slide deck.
Start with the exercise planning instructions, or the manual. If you're anything like me and you don't read anything else, at least read the manual because that's the blueprint for planning your entire TTX.
Yeah, the exercise planner instructions are key. They go over the entire process like a how-to guide, and they lay out step-by-step guidance, including a timeline of when to complete each task.
So, who's coming? And how should I start planning? How do you figure that one out?
TTX participants should be identified about 3 months in advance for a thorough exercise.
And again, who are you looking for?
Typically, there are 4 main types of participants, Gabe: the players, the observers, facilitators, and the evaluators. Also consider including other companies, state and local law enforcement, and first responders.
First responders, yeah, that sounds good. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about the 4 types of participants. Tell me about the players, Tanner.
Yes, you've got to consider the players. The players respond to the stage situation because they are the experts, and they have lots of training and experience.
So they're playing, anyone just kind of watch?
The observers watch the exercise without directly participating in the discussion, but they'll come in later and talk about what they saw.
So then who's in charge?
The facilitator. A facilitator runs the entire TTX and moderates the discussion. This person is someone who has some pretty specific expertise for the TTX situation.
So the players are playing, the observers are observing. The facilitator is facilitating,
and the evaluators
are evaluating.
The evaluators gather the information from the discussions that'll be used later to build the after-action report improvement plan.
Okay, I got it. Of course, all the participants are chosen carefully to represent their discipline, agency, or organization, and they've got to have the authority to speak on its behalf. What's next?
This one's simple. Here's where you have to draft the details on the meeting space for your TTX.
Meeting space like how do I get to the place?
How you get to the place, yes.
Okay.
Logistics is event planning 101. Directions, parking, are you providing food and drinks? Is there morning coffee?
Is there morning coffee? I don't know. I need some caffeine.
Me too.
Staffing and layout. Well, there's two basic TTX formats, a plenary and a multi-table. A plenary format is a single group of people in a room with one facilitator, and a multi-table TTX breaks out people by discipline or functional area, and it may have multiple facilitators.
So for staffing and layout then, you just need to plan which format works best for you and make sure your room layout needs are covered.
You need a big room. And just like you're securing the participants, you should start planning at least 3 months
3
out.
months.
Tanner, what's next?
Hold a planning conference.
A conference?
Well, it's more of a meeting. Hold a planning meeting and identify your exercise planning team.
Exercise planning team. There's a lot going on there. Exercise planning team.
Are you done?
I like it. I guess I'm done.
The exercise planning team is the inner circle and gets pulled together about 2 months before. And even though the team knows the details of everything going on in the TTX, they don't typically play.
For example, you want the local fire department to play.
Right.
Now the fire chief becomes a part of the exercise planning team. And he may attend the TTX, but he actually sends his officers to play in the exercise planning team. Oh, that's fun.
Good fun. Anyway, what's next?
Send out your invites. Your organization should send out formal letters or emails to all participants with the logistics, security procedures, and other event day details. Tanner, I never get formal invitations. Do you?
There's nothing formal about that pocket square, Gabe.
Pocket square.
About 6 weeks before your event, adapt your documents.
Check your
Make
agenda.
sure there's
proof your work.
Make sure there's
I before E.
Make sure there's
grammar, baby.
Make sure there's consistency between your documents. If someone changed the situation manual, make sure that change is reflected in the exercise slide deck and all the other documents as well.
So we're getting right down to it. Only a week or so to go, and here's where you start printing everything. Your facilitator and evaluator get the evaluator handbook and a copy of the slide deck.
And everyone gets a copy of the situation manual.
And feel free to print the slide deck and reference materials for everyone, or just, send it over email after the TTX is over. It's your call.
Then it's exercise day.
Here we go.
If you started planning 3 months before, everything will run smoothly. Remember, this TTX was planned for a reason, so make sure you get something out of it just as much as all of your attendees do.
And once the exercise is over, there's that immediate evaluation. Distribute your participant feedback forms to get responses from participants, and the facilitator will then collect and consolidate everyone's notes and forms and hold an open discussion around the room with all the players regarding their strengths and areas for improvement.
Absolutely, and the evaluators should use their notes to develop write-ups that address the observed strengths and those areas for improvement. And then these write-ups will become the building blocks for the after-action report improvement plan.
That's a quality lead-in, Tanner.
Thank you.
Wasn't it?
The end goal of the exercise is to produce this after-action report with recommendations for improving preparedness. And it's probably best to do the after-action within about the first 30 days.
30 days because it's still fresh on your mind.
Exactly.
Right.
The after-action report is the real product of the TTX and identifies ways to close gaps and should evolve over time, even long after the TTX is over.
There's template documents too, Amy.
There sure are.
Yeah.
Check out the after-action report templates in the facilitator handbook.
And there it is.
There it is. That's how you plan for a TTX.
It's all planned. That's what I'm talking about. We're running out of time. Let's head to the cool down. Tanner, let's go.
We covered a lot, Gabe. What are the most important takeaways for our friends today?
You're holding a TTX to identify gaps. The exercise will enhance awareness for and validate your procedures and define recovery plans in an incident. How does that planning take place?
Pay attention to the planning timeline. The entire process takes about 3 months. Don't get rushed a week before the TTX. Gabe, who needs to be there?
Well, the players, the observers, a facilitator, and your evaluators. If they have a seat at the table in the event of an incident, they should be at your TTX. Stop giving me easy ones, Tanner. What's the real takeaway?
The real takeaway is that after-action report.
That's right.
It's your final product of the TTX, which will help you to find any gaps. Gabe, where do I find those templates?
Exercise planner instructions. Before you begin, stay organized. All the directions are right there. Obviously, I'm a very organized individual. What happens to all the pens and paper?
Take notes. Take good notes, because these will really define the after-action report.
Okay, we're out of time. I'm Gabe Decker, and thanks for joining us on Hot Topics.
Now I'm Amy Tanner. Make sure to check out our website for more information on security awareness products. We're kicking it back to headquarters.
Good night, America. 3 months, people. Start planning.